Greetings. In this video I'm going to talk to you a little bit about lists. Let's go ahead and get started. So, what a list is basically is used to list information. Think of it in like when you're using Microsoft Word and you're going in and you're typing up your document and you want to put in some bullet points, or let's say you want to build a table of contents for a paper you're writing. You want to list off bunch of information, things like that. Okay, that's what lists are used for. So in HTML, there are two main types of lists. There are several types, but the two main types are an ordered list, which is basically numbered or ordered in some way, and then an unordered list, which is pretty much for all intents and purposes just for bullet points. Okay? So an unordered list that I want to talk to you about first. Again, it's unordered, has no order to it, it's basically bullet points. And here's how you create an unordered list. Let's say I'm going to the grocery store and I have a shopping list that I need to buy. Okay? So that would be an unordered list. It could be anyways. So here's how you build an unordered list. First, you do an opening UL tag and a closing UL tag. Put them on separate lines. Give yourself a few spaces, and then tab in, and then do what's called an LI tag or list item. Type in whatever it is that you want to list. First thing on your list. So let's say I want to buy some oranges. Okay, and then after you've typed in whatever your content is for that list item, then go ahead and close it out with a closing LI tag. Second, or the next line down, let's say I want some apples, and maybe I need some cheese, and then finally, maybe I need some paper towels. Okay. So that is your simplest unordered list. And I'm just going to type in a paragraph above here. I'm going to say shopping list. And I'm going to go ahead and put unordered. Okay. So, again, for an unordered list, you start with a UL tag. Give yourself some empty lines, tab in, and then type in your closing LI or opening LI tag, whatever your content is, and then a closing LI tag, and then repeat those steps for as many items that are on your list. Now I'm going to go ahead and launch this file, and this is what I should see. Okay. Again, bullet point, oranges, apple, cheese, paper towels. Alright, the next kind of list that I want to show you is an ordered list. A good example of an ordered list might be steps to get dressed or something, I don't know. Just making something up. An ordered list starts with an OL tag. And then your list items, the syntax is the same. Okay? This is real easy to tell the difference between an unordered list and an ordered list. An unordered list starts with UL, an ordered list starts with OL. Okay? So my steps to get dressed might be put on your underwear. Okay? Then put on shirt, put on pants, and put on socks, and then finally put on your shoes. Okay. Now if I render my page, you'll see that that is an ordered list. Again, there's an order to it. In order to get dressed, there are several steps, and some of them you have to do in order because you're wearing different layers of clothes. Okay, so you'd kind of do this in order here. And you kind of have to have, you don't put your socks over your shoes, you put your shoes on after you put on your socks. Okay, so again, ordered list. So those are the two basic types of lists that you're going to be using a lot. The last type of list that you could use fairly frequently, it's not so much in use anymore, but it's called a definition list. Okay? And I'll go ahead and type in a definition list here. Let's say a dictionary entry. Okay? Definition list starts with DL. Give yourself a few empty spaces, so do an open DL tag, few empty lines, closing DL tag, and then the definition list has two different elements to it. It has what's called DT, and so for definition term, and then you have what's called DE, definition. DD, sorry, I said DE, but I meant to say DD. So you have DT, definition term, DD, definition. So you type in your term, and then you type in your definition. Okay. In this case, to break it up even a little more, I'm going to put in a dash here. Alright, so that's a definition list. So you have your term on one line, and then on the next line, and then slightly indented would be your definition. Again, most people don't use the definition list, but you do need to know how to code it. I'm just going to comment this up a little bit here, just so when you see the sample code, you can see that it's an unordered list and ordered list. Help you out a little bit. All right, so those are the basics of a list in HTML. 3 different types, 2 that you're going to use all the time: an unordered list and an ordered list. Now, if I look at my rendered page here, you'll see an unordered list by default has just a spherical bullet point. Okay, and then an ordered list by default is numbered 1 through however many items are on there. Okay. One of the things that you can do when you're dealing with lists is this. When, let's say I want a list, but I want it to have, instead of an ordered list, and instead of 1 through 5, I want to go A through F. Okay? All I have to do is this. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a new page, and I'm going to save this as list types. Alright, and let's say I want to take my first list, and I want to make that a numbered list. Okay. Okay, this is just a standard numbered list. Okay, it's just an ordered list and has items 1 through 4 on it. Okay. Now let's say I want to take the same list, items, the same basic list, but instead of displaying numbers, I want to display uppercase letters. All I have to do right here inside the opening OL tag is give it the attribute of type equals, and then an open quote, capital. Remember, capital A, close quote. It has to be capital for this to work. And what you'll see, instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, is I have an A, B, C, D. Now, let's say I want to do lowercase. Quick change. All I have to do is set my type from A, set it from uppercase A to lowercase a. Okay, render the page, you'll see that, again, A through D, but they're in lowercase. type equals, and then lowercase a. If I want the list to be Roman numerals, then all that I need to do is change this type from A to capital I, and that's uppercase Roman numerals. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and render, and you'll see, and it's right here, this one. See how I have uppercase numbers, or I'm sorry, numerals, and then if I want it to be lowercase, then all that I have to do is go from type of capital I to lowercase I, just like that. And I'm going to save this page, I'm going to run it, and you'll see that I have lowercase Roman numerals. Okay. So those are the five main types of ordered list. You have your regular one, just by default is numbered. If you want them uppercase, again the type is capital A. Lowercase, the type is lowercase a. Uppercase Roman numerals, your type is capital I. Your lowercase Roman numerals, your type is lowercase I. Now, one of the other things that I want to show you that I don't believe is actually in the tutorial from W3 Schools, although it should be, and it's unfortunate that it isn't. Let's say I want to start, this is an ordered list, and I want to start a value at something other than 1. Let's say the oranges are the 5th item on my list, okay? And I only want a list of items 5 through 9 or something. Well, when I start my OL tag, right after that you put in the attribute of start equals, and then again, open quote, and then whatever you want the start value of this first list item to be. And in this case I'm going to say 5, and then close quote. And what you'll see is that your list starts on number 5. Okay. Now you can do this for any of your, no matter how it's formatted. Okay, even uppercase letters, things are going to start on E instead of A. And so on and so forth for the different types. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and put a comment in the code here. Starts list at number 5 for first value. There you go. Alright, so those are the different types of ordered lists. Now, unordered lists are a little different. You can actually change what the bullet point looks like, but there's really no changing a value, at least for the purposes of this course, in an unordered list because, well, the list is unordered. It doesn't necessarily have any kind of order to it, hence the name. Oops. Click cancel there. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to rename this file to list types of ordered. And I'm going to go ahead and save a copy, or save this as list types unordered. And I'm just going to go ahead and delete all this code because I don't need it right now. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and do a... Let's go ahead. I've got the same list items. All I'm going to change is for my list here from ordered to unordered. All I did basically is I just copied this file off to a new file name, deleted everything but the first list, and made it from ordered to unordered. I left the list items the same. No modifications there. Alright, so I'm going to change the name of this paragraph too from numbered list to bullet list. Alright, so by default you have your lists are bullet points. They're just, there's no Yeah, there's really no modification to it, or it's just a standard bullet point like you'd see in Word or whatever, okay, any word processing program. So if I'm going to change my list type at all, or the way that it's formatted here, then all I have to do in that OpenUL tag is type in type equals, and then again an open quote, disk in this case, and that's with a C at the end, disk, and that will show my list as just a bullet list, okay, just a disk, spherical shaped list, okay. Circular. Alright, and let's go ahead and run this file. And you'll see that, again, the bullet points here look like a disk. Okay. Another one that you're going to use a lot. And there, again, there are several different types of bullet points. But the other common one that you'll use a lot is a circle. And this just shows an open circle. Okay. So instead of disk, it's just circle. Okay. So you have, again, it's just kind of like a circle that's open in the middle. Okay. And then the other kind that's pretty popular is a square. And there are others, but these are the three that you see commonly. Again, just change the type from circle to square and render, and you'll see that you have a square here. Okay. And later, when we start playing around with CSS and formatting, we can do even more customizations. All right, so that's how just a real basic list works. Now, what you can do too is you can stick a list within a list. And that's called a nested list, just like you would when you build a table of contents for a paper. You'd put, the main point or the main section of the text of what you're referring to, and then break it down into subsections. Okay, you can do the same thing in lists. Let me show you how to do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy my code here, and I'm gonna create a new file, and I'm gonna save it as basic nested list. Again, make sure you save all this stuff as HTML. You should know that by now, but if you don't, make sure to save all your files as HTML, all your HTML files, otherwise it won't render properly. So, let's do a nested list. Let's see, I'm going to create a new paragraph called basic nested list. And first I'm going to start off with an unordered list. My first list item is coffee. Second list item is tea. But what type of tea? Let's break that down a little bit here. So I have two different types of tea. I have black tea and I have green tea. So what I can do here is I want to have a list that says coffee and then tea and milk. But tea, well, I have a couple different types that I can offer you. So let me tell you what those are. So what I do then is I create another unordered list. This is called a nested list. It's a list within a list. All I'm doing is I'm basically repeating the same steps that I took previously to build out my first list. Okay. So I have black tea and I have green tea. And then finally, my last list item is milk. Okay, and this is what it looks like. Basically just like what we have here. You have my, let me close out that list. Alright, so I have my first list, which has coffee, tea, and milk. And then I have a nested list underneath tea that says black tea and green tea. And they're all unordered, which means I'll just have bullet points. Alright, let's go ahead and run the page. And this is what you'll see. And since a nested list, it goes down a level of precedence as far as what your bullet points look like. And unless I change this by default, they're set to a circle. And then if I go another list in, which I can do, I'll do that, but then I'm going to back it out because I don't want it to confuse you as you're looking at the sample code. If I were to say I want green tea, do I want it with sugar or without sugar? Okay. Then you would see my next level down, I'm going to have squares for my bullet points here. Okay. And then it should start back. At that point, I believe, if I did another nested list, would be my disk again. I believe. Not totally sure. Usually, you don't drill down into 15 different nested lists. Alright, so just to recap right here, I'm going to blow out that third nested list that I created, just to kind of keep the example simple. Alright, so that's a basic nested list. Again, all it really is two lists, one inside of another. Now, I'm going to go ahead and copy this code, and I'm going to save or create a new file, paste my code, and I'm going to save this as well, what should I name this? Yeah, let's go ahead and save this as a complicated nested list, or complex nested list. It's really not that complex. It's a little more complex than what we just did, but not too bad. Alright, so inside of green tea, all I'm going to do, basically, just like I did before, is after green tea, I'm going to just type in another nested list, unordered, and have two values. One would be China, and the other Africa. And the reason why I backed the code out of the previous basic nested list is because I didn't want to go three lists in, but we'll do that here in the complex one. Okay. And now you see why indentation is important when you're coding, because if all this stuff is all on one line or separated without any indentations, it would be very difficult to look at, especially as we get further and further into nesting these lists. One nice thing about Notepad Plus and other modern text editors is that they highlight code when you click on this, say for example this unordered list open tag. Click on that, it shows me where its closing tag is, so it really comes in handy. Okay. Alright, now that is pretty much it for this video. Actually, let me render this real quick. It's basically the same thing you already saw before. It's just another list here. But that's pretty much it for lists. Again, lists, you're going to use them all the time when you code. Anytime you need to make bullet points of any type or do any number ordering or any of that kind of stuff, usually you'll use a list. So I hope you enjoyed the video. As always, if you have any questions, just shoot me an email and I'll get right back to you. Thanks.